In this video, I'm going to lay out the entire blueprint as to how you can become extremely successful at converting listings by cold calling, circle prospects, just listed, just sold. In this case, in this situation, I'm actually going to be creating a script for you guys live on ChatGPT for one of my private students. She calls properties that are potential teardowns, so older homes that are in neighborhoods that are being developed, and I'm going to customize a script for her. But these calls, the script that we're going to break down today is very similar to what you would have on a circle prospecting script, just listed, just sold, high equity, probate, absentee owner. So we're going to kind of walk through this entire process. If you're a realtor and you really want to dial in your circle prospecting calls, not only am I going to show you what kind of language to use, how to make these calls, I'm going to show you how to find the best leads. I'm going to show you how to create a script on ChatGPT, and I'm going to show you how to role play the entire script on ChatGPT. Literally, just this one video can make you an absolute killer. Let's get right into it. Here's the first thing that we're going to do. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. We're going to go on ChatGPT and we're going to talk to it. Here's what I'm going to say. Hey, ChatGPT. So I actually have to go ahead and make a very, very customized script for one of my private students. She's currently calling teardown potential properties in a neighborhood where developments are happening, new properties and new projects are occurring, and some older homes have not been sold and are still there from the original owner. I want to create a script where I organize the following: opening lines, qualifying questions, objection handlers, and closing lines. Can you help me create this script? I'm going to walk you through a few sets of different opening lines that I would use, a few set of different qualifying questions, a few sets of objections and objection handlers, and a few set of closing lines. And I want you to get the information that I give you and also create suggestions and alternative versions based on the sales language that I'm using. Can you help me do this? Yes or no? Now, ChatGPT 5 is probably going to think here for a second. I'm going to hit send here. It's going to come up with yes, for sure. Let me know what you think for opening lines, qualifying questions, etc. I want to organize this first, and then I'm obviously going to show you guys what opening lines I would use. I'll walk you through the whole thing, the whole language, why I'm using it, why I'm saying it. I also want to do this in front of you so you can see exactly how to create a script on ChatGPT, and then I'll show you guys how to role play with it. Opening lines, qualifying questions, objection handlers, closing lines. Once you walk me through, I'll organize it into complete script framework. Okay, beautiful. So the first opening line that I like to use on a circle prospecting call is called the neighbor indirect reframe. Okay. Hey, ChatGPT. So this is what the first opening line would sound like. Let's say I'm calling a teardown property. I'll say ring ring. Person answers hello. Hey, John. Yeah, this is John. John, listen, this is actually Alexis. I know I might be calling out of the blue here. I don't think we've spoken before. I'm actually calling on behalf of one of my partners. He's a developer in the area. And we were wondering, I know it might be a long shot, but have you heard of any of the neighbors that have mentioned potentially recently selling their properties? We're kind of calling around and seeing if anybody's open to selling. You haven't heard of any of the neighbors by chance, right? That is the first opening line. That is called the neighbor indirect reframe. They'll say, no, I haven't really heard of any of the neighbors that have been interested in selling. And then immediately you can go into, and look, John, I know this is a long shot. I know, I'm looking at here, you guys have been in the property for 18 years. And it sounds like you guys would probably never sell yourselves. I mean, if a strong offer came across with numbers that made sense, and more importantly, you guys found something that really made sense to move into, that's not something you guys would ever consider, right? I'm going to let this load on ChatGPT. That's really a go-to opening line. I'll call. I'll say, hey, John. Yeah, John, listen, it's actually Alexis. I'm a local agent here in the market. And listen, I'm sure you've gotten a ton of calls from realtors. I'm going to keep it very, very brief. I'm actually working with a local developer here, and I'm sure you've heard that some new projects are coming up. I just wanted to ask you, I know your home's not for sale. Have you by chance have heard of any of the neighbors that have maybe mentioned selling their properties? They might play into it. They might say, hey, I've heard of XYZ neighbor. I've heard of John, Jill, etc. Try to get that contact info. If not, it's a great way to bounce back and say, and listen, John, I'm looking at the records here, right? If you have PropStream open or whatever tool you use to look at property data, I'm looking at the records here, John, and it says that you've been living here for 20 years. So I know that you guys would never consider selling, but I do have to ask, if a strong offer came across, you folks would never consider moving from there, right? And using that negative language, like you would never consider moving from there. You guys are never planning on moving there. you guys are staying there forever, right? Like using that kind of extreme language, you'll see how good it works and how much it'll prompt them to actually tell you the truth about whether or not they actually have any plans to ever consider moving. And then you can continue moving the conversation forward. Let's see what we got here so far. Polished version. Hey, John, this is Alexis. I'm calling out of the blue here. We haven't spoken for the reason I'm reaching out. Exploring with the developers active in your area. Calling a few of the neighbors to see if anyone's mentioned possibly selling. You haven't heard anyone thinking of moving recently, have you? Okay, perfect. Boom. So we got the polished version of my line, alternative versions. Hey, John, listen, it's actually Alexis. I don't think we've met before. I work with a developer who's looking at opportunities in your area, and we've been reaching out to some of the neighbors. I'm just curious if you've heard of anyone around you that's even thought about selling. No, we haven't. Look, John, it makes sense. I've actually talked to, and something I'll say here, guys, a huge tip. Let me actually zoom out of this for 1 second. A huge tip that works with circle prospecting calls. I have a student of mine. His name's JR. He's 21 years old, and he's absolutely crushing it in his market in Arizona. He's very playful with these calls. So like, instead of being very tense and very direct and uptight, like he'll start laughing on the call. So like, let's say you're like, hey, John, listen, it's actually Alexis. I'm going to keep this super short. I came across your property on 5th. I do see you're still the owner there. You guys haven't met, or come across any of the neighbors that have maybe considered selling recently, have you? No, we haven't. We're staying here forever. And then he'll kind of be like, oh, yeah, I know. Listen, John, I've talked to some of your neighbors. I actually just talked to Bill yesterday. You could say a random name. I promise you they don't know all the neighbors. I talked to Bill yesterday, and he told me, he's like, I'm getting all these calls from realtors, and we're never moving. So listen, I get it, Bill. It's a very desirable neighborhood. I'm just kind of doing some dirty work here and calling on behalf of my developer. That's another trick, by the way, calling on behalf of my developer, calling on behalf of my buyers. You are just a messenger. So they're not going to be so aggressive and mean to you. And I know this might sound like, oh, this will never work. Trust me, if you do it the way that I'm telling you, it will work. But the playful tone is very important. Instead of being super serious and uptight, you want to kind of be playful. And I'll show you what I mean here in a little bit when I role play with ChatGPT. Okay, let's keep going into these opening lines. Hey, John, Alexis here. Listen, I'm going to be very straightforward, right? I'm reading through this and I'm improvising what I would actually say so you guys can maybe take some notes, because I'm going to edit this for her later. Hey, John, listen, it's actually Alexis here. I know I'm calling you out of the blue. One quick question. I do work with a developer who's been active nearby. And listen, I know your home's not for sale currently. I've checked in with some of the neighbors. I'm just curious. You haven't heard anyone around you that might be ready to move on from this neighborhood? This is a decent one. I'll probably edit it a little bit. Fair enough. And listen, John, I know it might sound random. And listen, John, I know it might sound random, but you've been there for what, almost 20 years? Usually that means people are pretty rooted, and this is probably going to be a long shot, but if the kind of offer came in that just made too much sense to ignore financially, would you guys even look at that, or is that something you'd entertain? That's a good one. I really like that line right there, insider tone version. I like it. Number 2, playful lean out version. Hey, John, this is Alexis. I know I'm calling you out of the blue here. I actually work with a developer, and we've been reaching out to see if any of the neighbors are even thinking about selling. You haven't heard any rumors about that, have you? I like that. I like the word rumors. You haven't heard any rumors about that, have you? Gotcha, John. And listen, I figured it was a long shot. I'm going to let you go here, and I'm sure you're comfortable where you are. Very important, guys, that you give specific details and say, like, I know you've been here for 8 years, and I'm sure you're super comfortable. I guess I'll flip the question on you and ask you this: if the right numbers showed up and you also found the perfect fit to move into, would you guys at least consider the conversation, or is that not really your style? I like this. This is pretty good for opening lines. We're going to come up here with a few qualifying questions that, like in the case that they were like, well, what can you get me? How much can you offer, etc. These are questions that you want to ask before you dive into, oh, I just realized I wasn't showing you guys the scripts. That's okay. You guys were listening to me. So let's come back here. We're actually on ChatGPT, and we were going through some of the alternative versions, but we're going to go through some qualifying questions now, guys. The important thing to note with these circle prospecting calls, okay? For sale by owners and expireds, especially for sale by owners, you're going to have a lot more conversations more frequently. You want to make sure that you do these calls, and I'm going to show you here in a little bit on PropStream. This is going to be a longer video. How to find the best leads that have the highest equity, the highest price point, and the most likely opportunity to say yes to selling. This is a volume game. This is a numbers game. You can't expect to make 30 dials, 40 dials, 50 dials in one day and get results, okay? You have to use this script over and over and over and over and over again and be very consistent with your circle prospecting, okay? If you're in a neighborhood or in an area or a city where for sale by owners are prevalent, I would really recommend looking into some of my for sale by owner videos and checking that out. And by the way, I'll use this for a quick second to kind of introduce myself. If you guys have never met me, my name's Alexis Valladares. I was a realtor from 2020 to 2023. I am now a full-time real estate sales coach, and I did over $1 million in commissions in my first 3 years by doing stuff just like this. Perfecting my script, calling strangers, having the right system, having the right process. And now I teach thousands of agents just like you around the country. I have a lot of free resources on YouTube. If you want to click the link below, I have a free school community as well. And if you want to take it one step further and have a conversation with my team directly and see if there's anything that we can do to serve you, there's a book a call link below. Anybody that joins that call and talks to my team gets access to all of my private scripts and over 25 hours of private training for free, whether or not we end up doing something. So if you want to do that, check it out. Click the link below. Let's get back into this. All right, so we got our opening lines here. Let me think of another one here. So I'm going to brainstorm. Hey, ChatGPT. So I'm going to brainstorm and we're going to kind of role play here. So let's say I call you. Hey, John. Yeah, John, it's actually Alexis. I just came across a home here on 5th Street. Is that property still yours by chance? Or did you guys end up selling that home? They're kind of be curious. No, it's still ours. Why are you calling? Listen, John, I know I'm calling you out of the blue. And listen, I know the property's not for sale. I was curious. I had one question. I've been speaking to some of the neighbors around the neighborhood. That property over on 5th Street is not for sale, but have you heard any of the neighbors in the area consider selling? We're actively looking for some development opportunities. And I know that right now it seems like you guys are pretty stuck right there. You guys have been there for 18 years. Have you heard of anybody that's open to the idea of selling right now? Let's see what it comes up with that. I really, really like that neighbor reframe. It's a really powerful, strong line to use that doesn't put the pressure on them immediately. Let's see what it comes up with as alternative versions. Okay, so direct curiosity first. Hey, John, this is Alexis. I came across a property on 5th Street. I wanted to check, is that still yours or has it already been sold? I don't like that. I'll probably edit that, but that is a good opening line, the either or question. Hey, John. Yeah, John, listen, it's Alexis. I actually came across a property on 5th Street. Do you happen to still be the owner there, or did you guys already end up selling that property? We're still the owners here. What's going on? Listen, John, I know it's not on the market and I might be catching you off guard. I've been talking to a few of the neighbors. Out of curiosity, has anyone around you mentioned maybe selling, or is it pretty quiet on that front right now? I like that. If no, makes sense. And look, I know you've been there a long time, and moving's probably something you wouldn't consider at all. I guess just out of curiosity, if the right situation lined up, is that something you'd ever want to hear about, right? Guys, this is simple. If you use it the right way with the right tonality, like I'm kind of sharing it with you right now, it'll be highly effective, highly, highly effective. I really like this right now. Let's go into objections, and then I'll kind of walk through a role play, because qualifying questions is something that's very important. One of the things that I teach is like everybody's not a prospect. Not everybody's someone that you have to follow up with. Not everybody is someone that you have to meet with. So I kind of want to role play a situation here with a teardown, and I want to show you how to role play on ChatGPT so I can show you what kind of questions I would ask before setting an appointment or taking some time and doing a CMA, stuff like that. Here are the objections, okay? So ChatGPT, we're going to build out the objections right now, and these are the objections that I got. The first one is, I'm not interested. The second one is, we have a family/established realtor that we'd work with. The third one is, the offer would have to be high. The fourth one is, we're not ready to sell it yet. We have emotional attachment. Okay, cool. The fifth one is, do you actually have a client, or are you calling to list my home? And the sixth one is, we are keeping the home to give it to our kids. I would give to my kids too. Okay, so let's tackle the first one, ChatGPT. So let's say the seller says, hey, look, I'm not interested. Don't call me. Look, John, I figured you wouldn't be interested. I actually want to do you a favor. And if I can, make sure I don't call you again until the time is right. Just out of curiosity, I know it's very unlikely. Can you come up, or can you think of a situation that would line up where it would actually prompt you guys to consider the idea of selling? Or do you feel like you're going to stay here forever no matter what? That is the objection that I would use for not interested. ChatGPT, give me 2 or 3 different variations of that. The second objection is, we have a family member/established realtor that we'd go with. Look, John, I completely respect the fact that you have an agent in mind. And look, I know that I called you out of the blue, and right now you're not currently selling. I guess just out of curiosity, and I'll leave you with this. If you guys ever did, really consider putting the property on the market, is it important for you guys to end up, selling that property for the most amount of money and maximizing the sale? That's a tie down. They'll say, yeah, it is important. And look, John, again, I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I'm sure that the realtor you guys have in mind is a great agent. I guess out of curiosity, if you guys did end up, looking at a second opinion, meeting with another agent, and obviously, look, one of the main reasons that sells a property for more or less money is marketing. And let's say that realtor you guys met with on the second opinion had a very, very strong marketing plan. And, that plan was actually a plan that made you guys feel that you guys were going to get significantly more money from that sale. I'm assuming that's not something you'd even consider, right? ChatGPT used that and give me 2 or 3 variations of that objection handler with a couple different sales techniques similar to the ones that I was using. Number 3, the offer would have to be high. Hey, look, John, I get it. It's a beautiful home. It's a very desirable neighborhood. Not a lot of people are considering selling right now. The last thing I want to do is waste your time. Just out of curiosity, and listen, I'm not trying to lowball you here. I know the only way that I'll be a part of this transaction is if I can get you a high number. What does that number look like to you in your mind? Ask them straight up. That's exactly what I would tell them. I'd be straight up. I'd say, look, I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to sugarcoat things. And I know that you're not going to sell it for less than a dime than what you want. Out of curiosity, what does that number look like for you? Okay, they'll say $1 million. Cool. So, John, out of transparency, I want to ask you this because, again, my intention is not to waste your time here. If I was able to get you a buyer for $1 million, what is the likelihood? What is the reality of you actually moving on from this property? That right there, ChatGPT, make a note of it. That is a qualifying question. If I were to be able to get you X number that you're looking for, what is the likelihood of you actually wanting to move on from this property, right? And guys, the whole, like what I'm using right now, the language that I'm using right now is very leaned out language. Most realtors, they hear somebody say, I want $1 million. Okay, I can get you $1 million. I'll do whatever it takes. When can I see the property? They pounce on it. They sound desperate. They have commission breath. You want to lean out and say, hey, look, John, I appreciate you even sharing that with me. The last thing I want to do is promise you a result that I can't bring you or waste your time. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. You want to get $1 million. I'm going to do my research. But before I do that, let me ask you this. Let's fast forward, say that I do my research and come up with the conclusion that you could actually get maybe $1 million or even more. What is the reality of you actually moving on from this home? Do you guys already have a home lined up? Would you have to build a property? How long would you need to actually move on from this property? That way I have an idea and I can service you based on your result that you want. That's exactly what I would do with that situation, okay? Moving on. By the way, I hope this is valuable for you guys so far. If it is, hit the subscribe button. Trying to build the biggest real estate coaching YouTube channel in the world. We're at the time of this video, we're probably at what, like 800 something subs, but we're going to get there. All right, cool. I'm not ready to sell. Hey, look, Alexis, I'm not ready to sell it. I have emotional attachment. Hey, look, Sally, I completely understand that. I respect that. I see right here on my computer screen that you've been there for 15 years. I can only imagine how many memories and how many different things you guys have lived through. And listen, the last thing that I do is put people in a position where I feel like I'm making them feel forced to talk about selling their property. At the end of the day, Sally, if you don't want to sell, that's totally okay with me. I'll be here ready for you whenever that time comes. I guess just out of curiosity, is there a situation or a number where you felt like if you were offered that, you'd consider it? That's a great question. You want to sympathize, empathize, acknowledge, hear them out, and say, hey, look, I get it. You've been here for 20 years. And clarify, I am not in the business of forcing people to sell. I'm here to serve. If you don't want to sell right now, that's not a problem. I'd be happy to talk to you about it when the time comes. I guess just out of curiosity, Sally, is there a situation or a number that if it was presented to you and offered, that would make you consider actually selling the home, or is it completely off limits right now? That's a great way to handle that objection. ChatGPT, please make a note of that. Give me a couple different suggestions. Objection number 5, do you have a client for me? Do you actually have a client, or are you calling to list my home? Look, John, I'm going to be very transparent with you and honest. I'm an agent, and at the end of the day, I represent buyers and I represent sellers. You're not going to do anything with me or any other agent unless it makes financial sense for you, correct? Correct. So here's all I want to do. At the end of the day, I could bring you an investor right away, immediately, or I could help you understand how to properly market this property, put it on the market, and attract the most amount of buyers. It just depends on what you're looking to do. Are you looking to maximize and sell it for the most amount, or are you okay with a quick sell for a little bit less? Most of the time, they'll tell you, of course, I want to maximize it and sell it for the most amount. So why don't we do this, John? Let me do some research. Let me put together some information, see what this property could actually go for in the market if it was properly marketed. And then I'll give you a call back. I'll run you through some of that information. And then if you're comfortable with it, you can invite me over. I can take a look at the property in person because I cannot possibly tell you exactly what it can go for if I don't see it in person. We can have a conversation. And if any of the things that I share with you in that conversation make any kind of sense, we can talk about further details. ChatGPT, I hope you're getting this and organizing it for me, because now I'm going into qualifying questions, closing lines, and I hope we can structure the script. But let's keep going here. We are keeping the home to give it to our kids. Hey, look, John, I totally respect that. And listen, the last thing that I like doing is pushing people into a sale that they don't want to do. It never works out. Just out of curiosity, is there a number or a situation in mind that would make you guys maybe consider the sale of the property? That's the same question I would ask with the previous one, which was not ready to sell, have emotional attachment. Guys, we're not in the business of forcing people to sell. We are in the business of figuring out who wants to sell and then serving them at the highest level. So if they say we are keeping the home to give it to our kids, John, that's fair. I'm not here to force you to sell a property. I called you to just kind of check in on the neighbors, see if you'd ever consider selling your home. Out of curiosity, in your mind, is there a situation or a number that would maybe make you consider selling the home? Yes or no? Boom, move on. All right, ChatGPT, this is exactly how I'd handle these objections. There's actually one more. I don't know where I would go. I would sell it, but I don't know where I would go. Hey, look, John, I completely understand that. And I've actually gotten that from a lot of the clients that I've worked with in the past. I guess just out of curiosity, number one, I'm assuming that if you do sell this home, you want to sell it for the most amount of money, correct? Tie down. Yes, correct. Absolutely. And look, John, I'm assuming that if you do even consider going down this route of selling the home, you want to sell it for the most, like you said. And number two, you want to get into a property that you enjoy, you're comfortable with, and that you're obviously getting into a good deal as well, correct? Yes, tie down number two, you're getting them to say yes. These are called micro commitments, tie downs. You'll then say, and John, look, it's a long shot. I obviously just called you out of the blue. If there was a way to actually get you top dollar for this home and get you into a property that made sense financially and logistically, is this an actual conversation that you'd at least consider having to see if it's even possible? That's exactly how to have that objection handled and appointment set. ChatGPT, let's organize all of these opening lines, all of these questions that I've integrated, and all of the closing lines and objection handlers that I've just used, and let's make it into a powerful script. All right, let's see what we got. ChatGPT is going to cook right now for me. That was a lot. I hope you guys are getting value from this video. Up next here, I'm going to show you guys how to actually role play with ChatGPT. But the important part I want to note here, guys, before we keep going is this is helping you get a foundation. You test out different opening lines, test out different qualifying questions, test out different objection handlers, and then you update and optimize your script as you go once you figure out what actually works, okay? For me, what works is using the combination of words and tonality and volume and just having a conversation with individuals. And when I have a great conversation and I use an objection handler that I've never used, I write it down and I make a note of it and then I use it again. So that's what I recommend. All right, here we go. Let's come back over here. Opening lines, qualifying question. Once the seller is engaged, if the right situation came up, what would need to happen for you to even consider selling? That is a great question. If the right situation came up, right? This is putting them in a what if. If the right situation came up, what would need to happen for you to even consider selling? Instead of saying, if the right number came across, how quickly could you move? Guys, this is residential real estate. This is more than just a transaction and numbers. Unlike commercial, there's emotion involved. So you want to be very picky and wise with the words that you use. You want to say something like, if the right situation or circumstance came up, what would need to happen for you guys to even consider selling in a way that's comfortable for you? You can even add that, in a way that's comfortable for you. It's about making them feel safe, making them trust you, and having them tell you the truth, okay? If I could bring you an offer at the number you'd want, what's the reality of you actually moving on? You can add, the last thing I want to do here is waste your time, okay? Would you already have a plan for where to go, or would you need time to figure that out? That is a beautiful question. And look, John, let's fast forward and let's pretend, let's imagine, say you did get your number or maybe even more. How long would you realistically need to make a move? These are great qualifying questions. Highly recommend to use these. I'm not going to make any changes. Objection number one, I'm not interested. Look, John, I figured you wouldn't be interested. Like the biggest thing about objection handling, guys, is instead of like kind of going against it and saying, well, let's say they say I'm not interested, and then you come back with like, even if you got the right number, even if it made sense, even if it was more than this, you're going against the objection. The first thing you want to do is acknowledge and normalize it. Look, John, I figured you wouldn't be interested. I've called some of the neighbors and they've kind of said the same thing. It sounds like it's a very desirable neighborhood. And honestly, all I want to do is do you a favor and make sure I don't call you again until the time is right. So just out of curiosity, can you think of a situation that would actually prompt you to consider selling? Or do you feel like you'll just stay here forever no matter what? This last part of the question is so important. Or do you feel like you'll stay here forever no matter what? Because it's very extremist. So they might say, well, I mean, I don't know if I'll stay here forever no matter what. Like if I got the right number or if ABC happened. Oh, okay. So if ABC happened, you'd maybe move. So it's very important that you use this specific language, okay? Very good. Here are some variations. You know, John, look, totally fair. And I guess just out of curiosity, if something ever changed in your situation, what do you think that would even look like for you folks? That's a great one. Look, John, that's not a problem at all. I don't want to keep bothering you. I guess I'll leave you with this question, right? This is me like improvising and optimizing the script as I go. I guess I'll leave you with this question. What would have to line up perfectly for you to even think about it? That's a good one. Got it. Look, John, I'll let you be, and I appreciate the conversation. Before I let you go, is there any scenario where you'd at least consider selling, or should I assume that's completely off the table? That's a great question. Amazing. Objection number 2, we have a family established realtor. Look, John, I completely respect that you already have an agent in mind. And listen, I called you out of the blue and I'm just a stranger and I know that you're not even selling right now. Just out of curiosity, if you ever did put the property on the market, I'm assuming it's important for you to maximize the sale price, right? Of course, they're going to say yes. Yes. Exactly. And look, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, John, and I'm sure your agent is great, but if you ever looked at a second opinion and another agent had a marketing plan that could realistically net you guys significantly more money, is that something you'd at least consider, or would you shut it down? That is a great line. Notice how when I originally said it on the when I was scripting it, I gave some more context. I said, look, John, because at the end of the day, the only thing that sells a home for more or less is marketing. And if you sat down with an agent that showed you black and white a marketing plan that made you feel that they can net you significantly more money, is that something you'd even consider, or would you shut it down? Boom. That's how you add the context. Got the variations, boom, boom, boom. By the way, I'm going to link this script in the description so you guys can have it. The offer would have to be high. Look, John, I get it. It's a beautiful home in a desirable neighborhood. The last thing I want to do is waste your time. I guess just out of curiosity, what does high mean to you in your mind? Boom. They give you the number. Appreciate you sharing that. And let me ask you this. If I could actually bring you a buyer at that number, what's the reality of you moving forward? Do you have something lined up, or would you need time to figure that out? I love that. That's perfect. Number 4, we're not ready. Emotional attachment. I completely understand. You've been there for 15 plus years, and I can only imagine the memories. The last thing I want to do is make you feel forced into selling. If now isn't right, that's totally fine. Just out of curiosity, though, is there a number or situation that would change that for you, or is it truly off the table right now? I love this. This is great. Objection number 5, do you have a client, or are you trying to list my home? Great question. Look, John, and I'll be transparent. I'm an agent. When you say things like, great question, I'm going to be honest with you. I'll be transparent. I'll tell you the truth. It lowers your guard. I am an agent, and look, some days I represent buyers, some days I represent sellers. At the end of the day, what you care about is making the most amount of money, right? Yes. You wouldn't do anything with me unless it made financial sense for you, right? Of course. And here's the reality. I could bring you an investor tomorrow for a quick sale, or I could help you position the property to maximize value and attract the most buyers. It depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for quick cash or top dollar? Which one matters most to you? This is beautiful. Objection number 6, we're gonna keep it, give it to our kids. Look, John, I totally respect that. I'd love if my parents did that for me too. That's a little side note that I would do. A lot of families I've talked to feel the same way. And listen, I'm not here to push anyone into selling. I guess just out of curiosity, if a certain situation or number came up that was life-changing, would you at least consider it, or is this completely off limits? I love it. Very simple, straight to the point. Objection number 7, I don't know where I'd go. Look, John, I completely understand. I actually hear that pretty often. I guess let me ask you this. If you did sell, I'm assuming you'd want to sell for the most amount of money possible, right? Yeah, of course. And secondly, you'd want to move into something that felt like a good fit, comfortable, and financially smart, correct? Yeah, exactly. So here's my thought. If I could show you a way, and I don't want to guarantee you anything, but I'm just speaking hypothetically. If I could show you a way to get top dollar for this home and line up the right next property, would that be worth at least exploring just to see if it's possible? Very, very good language. Here are the closing lines. And look, John, I guess here's what I'll do. Let me put some research together on your property and the neighborhood. I'm going to give you a quick call back and run you through the numbers. If it makes sense, you can invite me over. I love that language. You can invite me over and we'll take it from there. Perfect. Why don't we set up a short meeting, John? I'm going to walk you through what your property could realistically sell for. And if I share makes sense, we'll continue. If not, in the worst case, you can at least know exactly what your property stands in the market right now. Perfect. Look, John, all I want to do is give you clarity. If the numbers work and you see the value, we'll move forward. If not, I don't like that. So I'll say this. Look, John, all I want to do is give you clarity. If the numbers work and you see the value, we can discuss more details then. If not, you'll have good information for the future. How does that sound? Boom, done. So now we're going to go here and I'm going to create a Google Doc and the script is complete. Now we're going to role play this. Here's how we're going to role play this. Ready? Let me create this Google Doc real quick so I can save it. So we're going to come here. I'm going to show you guys how to do this. We're going to come here. By the way, why am I making this a video? A lot of you guys maybe don't call teardowns, but boom, and the Google Doc is so smooth because it organizes into opening lines, qualifying questions, objection handlers, closing lines. It's beautiful. The reason why I'm doing this video is because this is easily transferable for high equity properties, absentee owners, probate sales, just listed, just sold. You can use the same exact lines, use the same exact objection handlers, qualifying questions. It's all the same. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave them in the bottom here so I can get back to you guys and make another video. But now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys A through Z how to use this script on ChatGPT and role play and sharpen your skills and optimize the script. Ready? Hey, ChatGPT. So I want to go ahead and role play this script and I want to improve my skills. Okay. So what I want to do is I need you to help me create 5 different script prompts that I can read into ChatGPT voice that are going to help me role play very specific scenarios. I want each prompt to have different objections, different seller personalities, and I want each prompt to give me ratings and also feedback on different words and language that I can use to optimize the way that I'm communicating. Give me 5 very specific prompts that include everything that I just mentioned. So this is the important part about ChatGPT. You have to learn how to prompt it. You have to be very good at creating specific prompts, because if you just say, let's role play teardowns, it's not going to give you specific enough role plays. Check this out. Ready? I'm going to add this to the script too. Boom. This is beautiful. Ready? Prompt number 1, the not interested, leave me alone seller. I want you to act as a homeowner who owns a teardown property in a redevelopment area. You're blunt, a little annoyed, and not interested in talking. When I try to engage, give me short, dismissive answers like not interested, don't call me, or not selling. Push back hard, but not enough to hang up. After I respond, pause, then rate my objection handling from 1 to 10. Give me detailed feedback on my tonality, word choice, and whether I leaned out properly. Suggest 2 to 3 alternative phrases I could have used that would sound less pushy and more curious. All right, here's what we're going to do. Hold on, I want to see how I can do this. We're going to get this. We're going to copy it. And I'm going to send it to myself so I can read it to the voice. And there's, by the way, you guys can create infinite amount of these prompts. You're gonna click Google Voice, use voice mode. Okay. Actually let me go back here. You're gonna use voice. All right, ChatGPT, I want to role play a scenario. I want you to act as a homeowner who owns a teardown property in a redevelopment area. You're blunt, you're a little annoyed, and you're not interested in talking. When I try to engage, give me short, dismissive answers like I'm not interested, don't call me, or I'm not selling. I want you to push back hard, but not enough to hang up. And after we do 5 different objections, I want you to pause, then rate my objection handling from 1 to 10. Give me detailed feedback on my tonality, word choice, and whether I leaned out properly. At the end, I want you to suggest 2 to 3 alternative phrases I could have used that would sound less pushy and more curious. If I'm able to disarm you and make you feel comfortable and confident, help me get to the point where we set an appointment to see the property. Ready?
Absolutely, I'm ready. Let's jump right into it. Me as John, the blunt homeowner. Hello?
Hey, John?
Yeah, what do you want? I'm kind of busy right now, so if this is some sort of sales call, I'm not interested.
Hey, John. Yeah, listen, I figured you were busy. I'm going to be really, really brief. I'm actually calling about the property you have over on 5th. Do you guys still happen to own that home, or did you guys already end up selling it?
Yeah, we still own it, but look, I'm really not looking to do anything with it, so you can save your pitch. I'm not selling.
Yeah, no, look, listen, I completely respect that, John, and I'm going to keep it super short. I know that you're not selling right now currently. I was actually calling because We're working directly with a developer that's looking to possibly buy some properties in the neighborhood. And I know that you're not selling. I was just curious if you've maybe ever heard of any of the neighbors that have mentioned selling.
Look, I haven't heard anything from any neighbors, and honestly, I'm not interested in playing middleman here. We've been here a long time, and we're not looking to move. So if that's all, I'd rather not keep talking about it.
Yeah, look, no, John, I get it and I respect that. I guess, look, I'm going to make a note here in my CRM. That way I don't call you again. Just out of curiosity, and I'll leave you with this question. Is there a situation or a number that you could think of that would maybe make you guys consider it at all? Or you guys are just planning on staying there forever as of right now?
We're really not planning on going anywhere, and there's no number that would change that right now.
Okay.
So
Yeah, look, John, I'm not in the business of obviously forcing people to sell. Again, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. I was just kind of curious if, because a lot of the neighbors that I've talked to in the past in this neighborhood, when we first talked about the idea of it, they were completely against it. But obviously, the developer that I'm working with is very eager and hungry to build his project here. So they're offering very aggressive, numbers to some of the homeowners here in the area. But I know that right now it's not a situation that you'd consider, right?
yeah, that's right. We're just not considering it. So thanks for the info, but we're staying put.
Yeah, fair enough, John. And listen, I'll go ahead and text you my contact information. I know that right now maybe it's not an idea at all for you guys, but if you're ever looking to sell this property or maybe you want to grow your portfolio and invest into more property, I'll send you my contact information. My name's Alexis. I'm with eXp Realty, and I'd love to hear back from you if you ever need help with anything real estate related. Okay?
All right, Alexis, that's fine. You can send it over, but like I said, we're not interested right now. Thanks.
Okay, great. No problem, John. Thank you for the call.
Absolutely. Great job going through that. Now let's break down how you handled those objections and give you some feedback.
Let's
All
do it.
right. Absolutely. Let's dive into the feedback. Tonality and word choice. You did a really good job keeping your tone respectful and low pressure. You leaned out effectively by acknowledging you understood he wasn't interested, and you didn't push too hard. That's a great way to disarm someone who's naturally a bit blunt or resistant. Leaning out, you did a solid job with that. You never came across as pushy. Instead, you used phrases like, I respect that, and I'll just leave you with this question, which is exactly what you want to do to keep the conversation open. Alternative phrases you could use. One, curiosity nudge. Instead of asking if there's a number that would change his mind, you could try, John, totally understand you're set on staying. Just out of curiosity, have you ever wondered what kind of offers people are even getting in the area, even if it's just...
That was a good one.
Glad you like that one. Let's give you a couple more alternatives and then a final wrap up. All right, more alternative phrases. 2, soft information offer. John, I get it. And listen, I'm not here to twist your arm. If you're ever just curious about what's happening in the neighborhood or what people are offering, I'm happy to share info down the line. No pressure at all. This one plants a seed without pushing and keeps the door open. Friendly neighbor angle. Totally respect that, John. And hey, even if you're never interested, feel free to think of me as a resource. I'm always around if you just want to know what's going on with other properties around. No strings attached. This makes you sound more like a helpful local contact rather than a salesperson. Overall feedback and next steps, you did a great job navigating a tough blank seller. You kept your cool, leaned out when needed, and maintained a respectful tone. The key improvements would be to sprinkle in a bit more of that no strings language and just offer value as a neighborly resource. That way, if he ever changes his mind, he'll remember you as someone who wasn't pushy.
Great. Can you go ahead and transcribe the whole role play that we did on the ChatGPT conversation so I can copy and paste it and put it on my script?
Absolutely. I'll summarize the whole role play for you so you can easily copy it into your script. All right, role play transcript summary. You, Alexis. Yeah, what do you want?
So let's see if it actually lets me transfer it over here. Here it is. So I get the entire role play, right? Boom. You guys can copy and paste that, optimize it, put it into your script, whatever the case is. You can obviously optimize these different prompts, but remember the way that I prompted. I was very specific. Like, let's read through prompt number 3. Act as a seller who is only open to selling if the price is very high. Respond with statements like, I'd only sell if someone gave me $1 million, or the offer would have to be sky high. Challenge me when I ask about your number by saying, why do you want to know, or are you going to lowball me? After I respond, rate me on how well I leaned out and avoided commission breath. Score my ability to keep control of the frame while staying respectful. Then give me feedback on my exact phrasing and 2 suggestions for how I could ask the price question in a more leaned out, assumptive way. This is a great way. And look, I'll obviously say this, like the best way to role play and get better is by role playing with real people that are really doing it at a very high level and making real calls and improving like that. This is a great way to start and get some reps, maybe 10, 15 minutes a day, just to get comfortable with the language. And I would say break it down. Start with opening lines, then qualifying questions, role play each objection 10, 15, 20 times. Role play the closing lines 10, 15, 20 times, and just get these words stuck in your brain and start building that toolkit, okay? Last thing I'll say with circle prospecting, it's very important, and I'm gonna link a video in the description showing you guys how to use PropStream to find the best leads, okay? You wanna target the leads that have the least people on title, the most expensive leads, like the properties that are worth the most amount of money, properties that have lower loan balances, meaning if the property's worth $1 million and they owe 200, they have 80% paid off. You want to go for homes that have at least 40 to 50% equity based on the loan, okay? That is my recommendation, but like I said, I'm going to link another video below. I don't want to make this video too long. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Take notes. If you guys have any questions or any other videos you guys would want me to make, leave a description or leave a comment down in the description. Hit the subscribe button. If you guys want to have a conversation directly with me, I would love to see how I can support you in any single way. My name's Alexis. Thank you for watching. See you guys soon. Let's go.